to our Thursday afternoon demo, cooking demo. Tonight we're going to make bagels from scratch, which I've been making for, well, this is like my 6th batch, I think, this next one that we're going to make, and I am loving it and having so much fun with it, and they're really delicious. So we're going to do that, but first of all, I just want to remind everybody that we're open from 10 to 5 every day except Sundays 10 to 4. We can allow 10 people into the store, 10 customers into the store, masked with a cloth mask on, and we're still more than happy to do curbside shopping for you if you do not feel comfortable coming into the store. We're always going to be happy doing that for you. If you need to reach us, you can call us at 207-443-1402 or email us at sales@acook'semporium.com, and we will get back to you with answer any questions. We can send pictures of product if you need or anything like that. So we're very happy to help you that way. So let's get started with bagels. I just want to mention a couple of things that we have happening here. One is, and the reason that this is happening is we got a sample of this Eastside bagel topping from Griffin Ridge, and I took it home and tried it, and I, again, cannot stop making bagels now because they're so good. We're also going to do some sesame maybe tonight. And we also have some really nice sea salts that are great toppings for the bagels. The dough that we're going to make, or the dough that we're going to work with, is a garlic and rosemary, and we're going to put a little bit of the salt on top of that. They also do a nice smoked salt, a Pinot Noir salt, and some other products that are great, and some really nice candies, some salted caramel and salted licorice, which are really, really good. So let's get started here. I have my dirty mixer because I've been making bagels all day, and I am going to start with my yeast that I wrote myself a note to make sure I got out of the fridge, and then I didn't. So this is active dry yeast. At home, and I think on the recipe I say to use the instant yeast, but all day today I've been making it with the regular active dry yeast, and it's been working just fine. The instant yeast goes a little bit faster, rises a little bit faster, but we're going to start there, and that is 2 3/4 teaspoons. If you get the packets at the store, they're 2 1/4 teaspoons. So you'll have to open a second packet for a little bit more yeast. If you're using the jars, it's not a problem. We're going to put in some brown sugar because yeast is a living organism and it likes sugar. We're not going to add the salt because the salt does retard the growing. And if you want to walk with me, I'm going to get some hot water from the sink. You don't really have to walk with me because Heather is, so you are.
How warm is the water you're going to be using?
The water's going to be about 105 degrees, so between 100 and 110. And of course, I ran this earlier, so it would be hot. Now it's running cold, so bear with me. But usually your faucet water is hot enough. And we're going to do 1.5 cups. So there's about 1.5 cups. Hi. And thank God Heather's back and I'm on the correct side of the camera again. So I'm just going to pour the water in there, and then I'm going to whisk it up so the yeast can go ahead and start feeding on that nice sugar. And I'm just going to cover it up so you can't see it, but you'll be able to see it in a second. So then,
so why did you cover it though?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've always been told to. I don't know. You probably don't need to, but it just keeps things out of it, I guess. I don't know. Don't test me with these difficult questions. So I'm going to weigh out 500 grams of flour. So on most scales, you can, you start at 0. You can put your bowl or your plate or whatever on, and you probably know this already, but in case you don't, then you just put 0 or tare, and it goes back to 0, so it's not actually weighing the bowl, it's just going to weigh our flour. And 500 grams is about 4 cups, but you will be much more accurate if you weigh it, because you and I could both take a cup of flour and I can guarantee they would be different weights. So that's 503 grams, and this is nice because you can do pounds or kilograms. This is from OXO. You can also pull the display out in case your bowl is really big. So there's 500 grams of flour, and we're going to add our salt to the flour because we don't want to add it directly to the yeast, and that's 2 teaspoons. And I'm just going to mix that up a little bit. And this batch that we're going to make right now is going to have some chives and green onion in it. And I'll be baking this one later tonight, but we'll post some pictures of it, and I'll probably put some poppy seeds on it. So let's see what's happening here. Nothing yet. So meanwhile, we want to have some water ready to boil, and this has some honey in it, which is going to add a little bit of sweetness to the bagel, to the outside of the bagel, and it really helps to puff up the bagel too before it goes in the oven. So I'm going to move on to the next step since our yeast is, you can see, here you go. This just started in the 10 seconds that it took me to talk about the water. You can see how it's starting to foam up in there. So we're going to let it go for another few minutes, and I'll grab my other dough out while we're waiting for that. So this is dough that I made earlier. This has garlic and rosemary in it, and it's on the back or on the second page of the recipe. Sauteed it in a little bit of olive oil, and I'm just going to punch down the dough to get some of the air bubbles out of it. And this has olive oil because we put olive oil on the bowl. You can see there's a piece of garlic right there, and you can see the rosemary. And of course, being me, the recipe says 2 small cloves of garlic, and of course I put 4 small cloves of garlic because I love garlic. So there's our dough, and we're just going to go ahead and cut this into 8 pieces. They don't have to be exact, but if you want them exact, you can weigh them out. But it doesn't really matter. You can also do 6 jumbo bagels, or you could do 10 or 12 mini bagels if you prefer more topping and less actual bread. So then I'm going to take these and I'm just going to form them into a ball. So nice and round on top and the seam on the bottom. And these, again, they don't have to be perfect. They just have to taste good. So it doesn't matter if there's like a little seam or whatever on them. There we go. And if they're too sticky, which these are a little sticky, just put a little flour on your fingers. Okay. So you can put all kinds of things in your bagels or on top of your bagels. The other day I made jalapeno and cheddar bagels and topped them with sesame seeds, and they were a huge hit. Usually I just do poppy or the everything, using the everything topping from Griffin Ridge, or, you know, your basic bagel. Let's see how this is doing now. Still working. So we have our balls here, and next I'm just going to take this and take my thumb and make a hole in it. And you can, if you like a big hole in your bagel, you can stretch them out. They are going to tighten up a little bit as they rise here on the tray. So again, stick your finger through. You can flip it around to stretch it out if you want to. And we're just going to set these on the tray here just to rest. They're very tired and working hard, rising all afternoon. So we're just like, you know, just basically making little donuts out of them. stretch them out a little bit. And 2 more. So that my dough rose, usually I rise it for about an hour. This dough actually rose a little longer than that because I did a little earlier than I needed to. So, and I'm just going to cover those up and just let them rest for a moment. And okay, so you can see, I'm going to get this going before I start boiling. So you can see, normally I would let this get even frothier than that, but I think this is going to be okay. So I'm going to add my flour and salt right in there. And I'll let this start mixing. And then I'm also going to add my, my scallions and chives. And just add it right in there while it's mixing so it gets well mixed. And I like to saute like the garlic and rosemary that's in the bagels that we're making right now, but also in this, I like to saute them a little bit so you get a little bit of the flavor. It also takes away kind of that bite of garlic or onion that is not always people's favorite, but you'll get the flavor of that. So we're just going to mix that a little bit, and then we're going to transfer it over here. And this is kind of sticky, and I think one reason is because of the humidity, because I've also made batches with the same measurements that are not quite as sticky on, like this week when it was a little cooler, and not as humid, and they weren't nearly as sticky. So we're going to add, you don't want to overdo it on the flour, but we're going to add some so that it's not sticking to our hands the whole time. And we're just going to knead it for a couple of minutes, which I find to be very therapeutic. Just, you know, putting your love into the dough, putting your personality. Hopefully you're in a good mood, so when people eat your bagels, they will be happy, which they will because they're going to be delicious. And I'm just using the heel of my hand here just to press down and get that nicely mixed, get the gluten in there so that it's it makes it nice and stretchy. And I'm sorry for you gluten-free people because it's one of the things that makes bagels so chewy and delicious.
What kind of flour are you using?
Oh, good question. So we're using bread flour, which, why are we using bread flour? I believe, and I could be wrong, so please don't quote me on this, it has more protein, and I believe the gluten is a protein. Clearly, I'm not a scientist, but I think that's what it is. And so with bread, you want it to be more chewy, whereas with cake, you want it to be just smooth and fluffy, which is why there's also cake flour, which probably has a much lower protein, I'm guessing. So again, just adding a little flour now and then just to keep it from sticking too badly. And you can see the chives and the green onions are spreading out nicely in there. I like to spank it for good luck. A little bit of oil in there, and we're just going to coat the dough, and that's good. And put a cover on it. This time, I'm pretty sure we're putting a cloth over it so that it keeps some of the heat in, and that helps it to rise. So let's go back to these guys who have been sitting here resting for a little while. And our water's boiling, there's honey in here, and it's a little bit cloudy right now because I've already done a batch of bagels in here. And those are going to go for a minute on each side, so we'll just turn our timer on. So this is really the most time-consuming part of doing the bagels is the boiling. The dough, as you saw, took maybe 5 minutes or so. Then it rises for a while on its own, about an hour, but you can go off and do other things. And then you're gonna be boiling them, coating them, and then you put them in the oven, and then they come out of the oven and they're done. So it's really not a long, time-consuming process as far as you're concerned, as far as what you're actually doing with the bagels. It just takes a long time for them to rise and then to bake again. But I would say overall it's under 2 hours for the whole process, especially if you already have your dough made for you. That helps. So we're down to 7 seconds. So I'm using a slotted spoon, and I'm just gonna flip these over, and they really don't resist at all. So those are flipped, and we're gonna do another minute on this side. And while we're cooking these, I wanted to mention a really beautiful new product that we have. These hand-woven cloths. You can use them as dish towels, you can use them as placemats. They're woven by a young woman up on High Street here in Bath. And they are absolutely gorgeous. They are 100% cotton, so they can go in the laundry. And they're just absolutely beautiful. Great Christmas presents, since the holidays, I hate to admit it, are coming up pretty soon. We also have some really yummy jams and jellies from a bunch of different companies, including Stonewall Kitchen, which is Maine-made, Nervous Nellies, which is Maine-made, and some British things. We've got some great teas and stuff like that too, if you want with your breakfast. So that didn't go. So I'm just going to take these out now, and you can see I'm flipping them over so that they go back, because we had the seam, if you will, on the balls that we made. I want to put that side down and have the softer, rounder part on top. And I'm going to drop these other 4 in, and then we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to coat them. And as you can see, there's really no pomp and ceremony here. They just get dropped in. I'll start my timer. So these guys, I let them sit 8 on a pan, but I'm actually going to do them now just 4 on a pan. And then I have some egg wash. So this is an egg and a little bit of water, about a tablespoon or so of water. And I'm just going to brush that on. And that's going to give it a nice shine. So even if you're doing plain bagels and no topping at all, you want to do this step because it will add a nice shine to them. But it also, if you are doing toppings, it helps sort of glue the topping on to the top. Glue is obviously not really the right word, but you know. So, and now I'm going to use just a little pinch of the rosemary salt on the top of these, just to give it a little je ne sais quoi, a little nice salty taste when you bite into it. And that's pretty much it. Then they go into the oven. Then they go into the oven about 15 minutes. So you're going to have 2 pans and 2 shelves, so about 15 minutes. Then rotate the pans. Also shift what shelf they're on in the oven, and another 10 minutes. So 25 minutes or so baking. Keep an eye on them in case your oven is super hot like ours is. So ours started browning a little bit too much, the ones I made earlier. But that's basically it. And then when they come out of the oven, as soon as they're cool enough, you're going to want to eat one immediately because they are really, really tasty. So I hope that was fun for you, and it was certainly fun for me, and I can't wait to eat these. Again, we're open 7 days a week, 10 to 5 on weekdays and Saturdays, and then Sundays 10 to 4. And we would love to see you in the store. We're having a great time as the weather gets a little chillier, and we would love to see you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.